not just the bleep test, Dave. I'm putting just simply the sound, just those first few beeps. That's sort of telling you that even though you're a professional, none of your teammates think you're very good.
Stand on that chair, and it doesn't matter who you are, and somebody's thrown you a fake microphone, which is normally, I don't know, a bottle of tomato sauce, if that's allowed in your club or whatever. You commit to your song, and then you just hoping to God like you don't just get the silence, as almost everybody eggy boffs your song.
The apprentices, by the way, I mean, as we all know, they don't even touch the booze now. I mean, do they even clean their own booze?
I presume it wasn't what a modern player would have, would be a Louis Vuitton kind of branded black bag, was it?
No, it was actually a bin bag.
You know, Man City, Man United. Would you get half and half? Has anyone ever seen any of those kind of examples of half and half scarves, which are so totally wrong?
People would secretly get together and they knew one player would lose his head, like just for banter. So they'd always leave him till last, just because they knew they'd get a little nibble off that player. So, welcome, football fans, to Breaking Lines, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the beautiful game like never before. I'm Gary Rowett, former player and manager, joined by the insightful Dave Carolan, a man with his finger on the pulse of football's beating heart. Together, Dave and I bring you unrivaled insight, context, and a few stories from the trenches. This is Breaking Lines, where the game is more than just a match.
So these last few days, Gary, we've been having a few discussions about things that we remember from the past when we were working early in the game, and maybe comparing it to some of the stuff that we've been seeing a little bit more recently across different clubs. And we probably have been thinking about those days of yore, of things that were really good in the past that have been lost to the game. So I thought we'd try a little bit of a different format this week, which is a little bit of Dressing Room 101, where you can either pick something of the current culture to get rid of, or maybe something from the past that you can almost resurrect and bring to the fore.
I like this. Like players. Like really good players.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to resurrect some of them. Yeah. But essentially, we're going to split it down into three different sections. So you're going to have something around the kind of training and management. You're going to have something around the kind of culture around the team and the environment. And then the last area around the wider kind of football culture, where you might see things that are happening in the media or in fandom that you might think, yeah, I want to get rid of that. Or stuff from the past that you might want to bring back. So let's have a look at it. Right. So you're going to kick off. We're going to look at training first. So what's your first item that you would like to stick into Dressing Room 101?
Training. I'm going to go from a very personal perspective here. And, you know, I think we mentioned this in a previous podcast, and I would imagine most people, either at school, at a football club, would agree with me. I'd like to think it's not just the bleep test, Dave. I'm putting just simply the sound, just those first few beeps you could put in, because it's that do-do-do, and you're thinking, oh no, start of level 1. And you're looking at it thinking, oh, this is painful. There's something so painful about hearing that sound. And I don't know whether it's just hearing the sound. It's probably looking at the smugness of one of you guys on the sideline, just looking forward to it. So we need the measurements from last year. We need to see where we are. No, you don't. It's just we couldn't bother to think about anything today. So we've put the bleep test on. You've drove your car up because you've even forgot your speakers. You haven't organised this, and you've now got a car at the side playing the bleep test. So, and I've seen players drop out on. I've seen an England international drop out on level 9 before, and he still played first game of the season. So everything that was said during that bleep test was rubbish. So I'm going to expect you to vehemently defend this.
Yeah, well, basically, it was one of those. It was the first real group based fitness test, wasn't it? That sports science brought in, and yes, in of players of a certain age, we can always all remember those tones as it went do do do, and as you say, start of level whatever. And yes, it's etched in the brain of many a player. And boy, did we love it when we saw you guys having to go up and down and up and down. And really, yes, it was just kind of a simple way of doing the fitness test, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm. If I never hear that sound ever again, I will be very, very happy. So yeah,
Yeah,
I would.
half the challenge was actually administering that test because you guys would like start going like a couple of feet short of a test and of a turn. I'm not saying you did that, of course. Like I'm sure you went to every line.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
many a player would start turning early, and then we'd be there trying to like police the test, saying you've got two warnings, and if you're not there on your second warning or you're short, we're going to kick you out. And the lads are hoping to be kicked out, aren't they? Just
Well,
sitting there.
I've seen people get away with about 10 short steps, every time, and he's in another level. He's probably done about a whole run less than everybody else by the time he gets to the end. And I've seen people, by a very officious sports scientist, you're out on the first one. You're like, what? What do you mean I'm out on the first one? I've been running for like 20 minutes. So, and then they brought that other one out. I don't know if you remember, they brought another bleep. Someone got busy and brought another bleep test out. And you've got it, haven't you? Tell me you've got it there. If you've got a cassette of the bleep test, I'm going to chuck you in room 101, Dave. Oh my, that's ridiculous. But for that, you know what? But for their, well,
I can go in the whole thing.
since there's need I say anymore, Dave's actually got the yo-yo test in his room
Look at that. Look,
in cassette form, not even in DVD form, in cassette form.
this is the yellow tape. Not many ever got to the yellow tape. My God,
Anyway,
that wasn't even set up either.
no, I was going to say that's a bit worrying. I didn't even tell you
Yeah.
what I was going to pick. Right, go
Yeah,
on. Next.
like every good sports scientist, I've just got a whole library of sports science things here. But let's be honest, it was one test that you could apply to the whole population of football, whether you were a pro, whether you're in an academy or a youth club. Everybody was doing the bleep test, weren't they? And the stories would pervade of players who reached level 16 and they were seen as some kind of aerobic god or just very busy.
15.4 was the most I ever got to. That was my record. I think someone had measured it wrong, but I like the way you're justifying this as though this is like you're already starting to more or less say you have to keep this in because I don't want to betray my whole profession for the last 30 years is really what you're going to say, aren't you?
Yeah, well, to be fair, we had started to do some more advanced testing, but that's really, really boring because we were literally taking a whole day to test the whole squad, doing lactate tests and all of that. But then I also worked in non-league where we were using this test. And I remember one player who had aspirations of being a pro, so he wanted to prove so much how he could be at pro level that he did the bleep test and was actually throwing up while doing the bleep test and didn't stop. So, yeah,
Fair play.
fierce commitment to staying in the bleep test when people, as you say, have also dropped out at level 9. I think it's going to be a real challenge, that one, for the listeners to decide between that and my one, which I'm going to now introduce, which is even in the pro game, like in every playground in the world, where two captains were picked and had to choose the teams, which always meant that there were some players who were left to the end. The players you didn't want in your team, but you were then given.
That's horrible, isn't it? Because in the school playground, okay, there'd have been like, one kid who probably wasn't very good at football but wanted to play, or I don't know, maybe I'm not, I'm going to try and make sure I use my words correctly. Maybe a smaller kid that probably wasn't, I'm sorry, Dave, for a smaller kid that wasn't as good, or maybe a bigger kid that maybe wasn't quite as mobile. But technical skill, of course, there's something for everyone on this show, of course, isn't there? But, there might have been a reason why you didn't want to pick that player. I don't know. You might not have liked him. You might have sat next to him in maths. You might have hated him because they were like brilliant at it and you were rubbish. So whatever, and he wouldn't let you copy him. I don't know. But ultimately, yeah, but then at the professional game level, that's hard, isn't it? You're sat there and that same player wouldn't get picked on a Friday. Well, that's sort of telling you that even though you're a professional, none of your teammates think you're very good. I mean, I suppose you could argue in a five-a-side match, maybe you're not picking a big centre half or a big centre forward. Maybe you're going for a strategy of lots of mobile players. Maybe you want loads of midfielders in your team. But yeah, that's particularly hurtful. I have seen players where I knew the player was in a bad run of form, and I knew the player needed, and even I'm sat there cringing, thinking, please don't pick him last, because that would be another conversation in the manager's office of, I've got to now pick him up after the players have basically killed him and killed the squad. So yeah, that's a good one, Dave. You got some experiences of that or not? Hang on a minute. You weren't the last, because you liked rugby, didn't you? So you weren't the last pick at school. Is this what this is all about?
No way. I was probably one of the captains, to be fair. Let's be honest. I was probably picking the teams. But it's interesting when you say there that, at school, the person who was not very good at football was picked last. But quite often in the professional game, the guy who wasn't very good at football was also picked last. It was just, he was fortunate that he had reached a level in life where he was getting paid to at least be picked last, or they then flip it, wouldn't it? The squad would get together and decide that they were going to get the guy who thought he was really good, and pick him last, just leave him there stewing because nobody wanted him in the team for whatever reason. But yeah, it was kind of law of the jungle, wasn't it? The lads would find a reason to not have someone, or then the two captains would agree that they'd pick each other as last pick. You can have him and we'll have one less, but you can have two more or something like that,
I've also seen players do it where you used to do it for the yellow jersey, didn't they? So the yellow jersey was a similar thing, wasn't it? It was the worst player on like a Thursday or Friday, and they had to wear the yellow jersey the next Friday. So it was a little bit of a walk of shame when it was embarrassing. In fact, I spoke to Michael Bridges at Sky. I don't know if you remember Leeds. I'm digressing slightly, but Leeds went one further. They bought a Robin Reliant. But he actually said that you had to add something to the Robin Reliant. He said it ended up with big wheels. He said someone put spinners on this Robin Reliant. They had to drive it to the game. So, but I've seen it where people would secretly get together and they knew one player would lose his head, like just for banter. So they'd always leave him till last just because they knew they'd get a little nibble off that player. So yeah, it wasn't always the worst player. Sometimes it'd be the player that would react the worst.
The best, yeah. The worst, the best. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so there are the two choices in the kind of training environment, let's call it like that. So people have got a choice between my one, which is captain's pick, and your one, which is the bleep test. So we'll stick that out in the vote and see what people come up with. But a strong start. I wouldn't like to have to pick between those two myself, because I always did like the uncomfortableness of probably both of them, watching you guys lose your heads when somebody was picked last or whatever. Right. Okay. Second part, something from you now around the team culture, the training environment, something like that you thought was either really good that you've seen at the moment, or terrible, you want to get rid of it from the past.
I'm going to go for one, but before I do, I'm going to just mention another one because I just thought of it on the top of my head. And we're going to say actually, it was sports scientists doing demos. I was going to say sports scientists doing demos because I've seen it so many times where someone tries to do an incredible movement or like plyometrics into like a movement at full speed, and they've had to do it at full speed. And I've seen some terrible one.
Couldn't
But
have been
anyway,
me. Obviously, it must be Jack Sharkey when you were at Burton or something like
Sharks.
that.
It must have been Sharks. Yeah, no, I won't go into that. But yeah, I told him off in his first one, but he's done. He's never looked back since. He's surged ahead of me in his career. So good luck to Jack. Good lad. So yeah, one of the ones I'm going to go for is I'm going to go for Initiation Song, right? And it's around the culture. So at one point, that culture of somebody new comes into your team or somebody new comes into your organisation, and I imagine lots of businesses have something of that ilk that you have to do. Maybe not quite as sort of not humiliating what I say, but as polarizing, shall we say? So I've seen it for so long now. It was good at first. It was great at first. A new player comes in. That new player has a chance to ingratiate himself with a group. Would he get up? Because we spoke about it. Friday night away game at dinner, but the chair goes up. Someone introduces that player. He either knows or doesn't know. He has to walk, stand on the chair, and he has to sing a song. Now, this isn't just like lower league frivolity, is it? You've got teams like Arsenal doing exactly the same. I think every single club in more or less every country does this. Now, I've seen this for so long, and the challenge I've got with it is it's got to the point now where if you're any good, no one's bothered. It's actually a shame, really, because there's been some brilliant singers, footballers, some absolute amazing voices. Some players I've heard have actually got better voices than they have technique. So you've actually chose the wrong profession. But then you see the 17-year-old getting up, and you can see the fear in his eyes, and you can see the look on his face. And there's a bit of me as manager thinking, I don't know if I've got to stop this because it's a really, really horribly it's a horrible feeling as you see the people do it. So yeah, I think there'll be a lot of players out there going, stop talking rubbish. It's the best thing that we do all week. But as a member of staff, it's got to a point now as well where staff have to do it. Don't know, staff are doing it. It was we had one trip where there was about 30 songs. I've seen I don't think the Beatles back catalogue's as big as what we saw that evening. It was getting to a point where not another one. Anyway, I'm throwing the Initiation Song in there.
So you're getting rid of it, all right? That's interesting, yeah. Because as you say, more recently. In fact, I've not seen you sing at one of them, but I've had to do a fair few at a few clubs. And yeah, it's 1 to 2 minutes of absolute terror as you try and just get through it. Hopefully you pick a song that everyone might consider joining in with. In fact, we had one brilliant one recently, didn't we? We had Andreas Vogelsammer join us at Millwall.
Yeah.
And that was probably, of all time, my favourite Initiation song.
Brilliant.
Just in the delivery and the choice of song, because he got up on that chair, didn't he? And the whole room's waiting to see what he would do. And a lot of the players who've come from abroad, their kind of go-to thing was normally a national anthem, wasn't it? Because it was get up there, do 30 seconds of your national anthem and jump down. But Vogie got up there, had the room absolutely in the palm of his hand as he delivered Tequila. And the place fell around laughing, didn't it? It was brilliant.
Said about 3 words the whole thing through it. They always said 1 word, but 3 times. Tequila.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, but he managed to stay up there for the whole length of the song, just dancing on a chair. So, and I think some of the clubs have brought that in, haven't they? They brought in a little. You can choose to sing or dance.
Is that right? Wow, that's moving forward. I tell you, one of the other things about it that I find. I mean, it's quite good fun in certain ways, but there's a few cringy bits. Is you start singing and the hotel staff are looking as if to say, what the hell's going on? Who is this here? You're meant to be a professional football team, and you've even got people that are staying in the hotel looking through the door of the canteen or the of the dining area and looking, thinking, what is going on? It's like a musical audition or something. So yeah, it's and the old lads start tapping the tables and making. There's so much noise in there involved. So what did you sing, Dave? I can't remember. You sung. Did you
Sweet
sing?
Caroline. Sweet
You've done
Caroline.
that every
Before.
time. Have you done that every time?
Yeah, I think I changed it up the last time because like football had stolen my song, and it suddenly became every terrace was singing it and everyone was singing it. I think the first time I did it was in Spain with Birmingham, and I grabbed the bull by the horns. I didn't wait for the tap of the glass. It was normally that's the bit that sends the sweat rolling down your brow when you know that you're going to have to get up and stand on that chair. And it doesn't matter who you are. And somebody's thrown you a fake microphone, which is normally, I don't know, a bottle of tomato sauce, if that's allowed in your club or whatever. And then, you commit to your song, and then you just hoping to God, like, you don't just get the silence as almost everybody eggy boffs your song and you just sit there for 2 minutes singing away. And meanwhile, you look over and the staff table is just absolutely creasing up with the fact that you're up there singing. Or then you get somebody like Joe Connell, who we've worked with, and Joe has got an amazing voice. He's a front man in a band, and he gets up and knocks out Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. Probably better than Bob Marley did it.
Unbelievable, wasn't it? When you say football stole your song, did you actually write it for Neil Diamond?
Yeah, originally it was called Sweet Caroline, and then he changed it because obviously there was only a couple of us. Right, okay.
Before we move on, Dave, when they sing it, should you be allowed a phone if you're a player? Should you be allowed to read the words?
Disgraceful behaviour.
Disgraceful.
Yeah. Get up, know your song, going up. No backing track, no reading lyrics. Get one of the stock songs that everybody sings, which is probably Oasis at this stage. We're just showing our age at that stage, aren't we? But yeah, I believe now it's actually been ruled out of a lot of clubs now, especially when young players travel. Now, some people might say that it's, to use a term that my son has taught me over the last week, utter woke nonsense. But it's seemingly as part of safeguarding now that young players potentially are not allowed to do initiation songs anymore. So I think it may be dying a death on its own. So you might be just pushing it into Room 101 where it's going anyway. But good choice. Mine's going to sound kind of really boring in relation to that, but around the environment, we used to have players who would polish and clean their own boots, because they'd actually take care of their equipment. So normally the kit man would be out there, there'd be tubs of polish, loads of cloths where people would actually be putting polish and dubbing onto the boots and cleaning them to within an inch of their life, because obviously boots are still expensive, but everyone would look after them, wouldn't they? And normally, if you were a senior pro, you'd be either chucking it to a scholar or one of the youth team, and they would be your boot boy.
Well, what I would say is, even just using the word polish, Dave, the last two clubs we've been into, right, I've asked the kit man, because I like a proper pair of boots, like just a black pair of boots. So I like nice leather, just like a, what did I have at the last club? I bought some random boots, right? I bought the Pantofolo, the Italian ones, just black with really different, black with a little tongue on. Nope. But you need to polish them. Right. So anyway, all right then, let's go standard Copa Mundials.
Pantofolo.
Honestly, yeah, or maybe Pantofolo. Might have got the pronunciation wrong.
Yeah.
If that company wants to correct us whilst giving us some free boots, then feel free. We're happy to get it wrong. But even if it's Copa Mundials, a bit of leather on there. But you know what? The kit men, right? Kit men. You think you must have to learn your trade somehow, or to be a kit man, you must at least have to have some form of knowledge of certain things like kit or boots. I mean, surely that's a bit obvious, but it didn't even have polish. Didn't even have polish. I said, have you got any polish? She said, no, we don't have polish. So what the hell do you use on boots then? And of course, most of the boots now are essentially almost like plastic, aren't they? Because they're coloured and they just clean them and get the mud off, and that's about it. The apprentices, by the way, I mean, as we all know, they don't even touch the boots now. I mean, do they even clean their own boots? I mean, that is utter woke nonsense if they don't, because surely having pride in your appearance and pride, like, I wonder if that's a dying art as well. Like, when you I don't know, on the Sunday, your mum or your dad would have said, right, you're not going to your match with those boots like that, dirty. You'd have to look after them. So yeah, I wonder if that is a dying art. But yeah, polishing your boots, certainly not around anymore.
Well, it certainly was one of the things that you could almost judge someone's standards by, wasn't it? You could walk into the boot room, look at people's boots, and that would probably give you an indication as to whether there was someone who was particularly diligent and professional, or whether there was someone that was just lazy and kind of got in and out in no time. You never looked after their equipment. If they weren't looking after their equipment, were they looking after their body? If they weren't looking after their body, were they really a good pro?
Absolutely. And I'd be interested actually to hear any of our listeners in different fields. What does that apprenticeship look like? What are some of those, like if you're in the construction industry, I would imagine, you're making the tea every day for all the ones that are older, because they've earned their stripes. They've had to do it, and they've earned their stripes. And to me, I don't think having to earn something is anything wrong with that. What other areas would there be sort of some form of a, if you're the first, if you're a first year apprentice on the YTS scheme or whatever it's called now, what sort of jobs would you have to do in other industries? Because I'm sure there must be some out there. You wouldn't just walk in and do what everyone else does, would you? That's been there 15, 20 years. You'd have to earn the right in some capacity, So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what other people have done, or whether every industry is the same to a certain degree.
Yeah, I don't know what you'd have to do if you're like an accountant. Do you have to do do you have to write all of the numbers in by hand at the start, or do you just get given like basic level Excel or something like that to do all the accounts with? But yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting choice there between my one, which is polishing boots and all those kind of jobs that the apprentices did, and your one, which is the initiation songs. I think that could be a close one, to be fair. But I definitely know which one I prefer doing, which was, making sure my boots are okay. What about you?
Absolutely. I am going to go for... What were the options again? I was thinking about...
Are you getting rid of your initiation songs?
When you said an accountant, I was thinking, with the budget coming up, the last thing on earth should be worried as an accountant is what the apprentice is doing. That's what I would say. They are busy at the moment preparing. So what was it again? Sorry. So the apprentice, cleaning boots.
Or initiation songs. If you're a young player, both are terrible. I wouldn't want to do both, but...
Yeah, imagine doing both. Yeah, I didn't mind cleaning boots, to be honest. I had Dion's boots, I had John Taylor's boots. I had Steve Claridge's boots. Steve Claridge's, quick story, Steve Claridge used to bring his boots in a bin liner, and literally before a game, you just get random boots out. Sometimes he'd get one boot of one sort and one of another sort. But he'd have no inner soles in because he found inner soles uncomfortable. Have you ever known anyone find the inner soles uncomfortable? I'm sure that's what they're designed for, to make them more comfortable. He didn't have all the studs in because he found that uncomfortable as well. So, back in the day, you'd have two studs in the back and 4 in the front or whatever it was. And he would literally have like 1 in the back and 3 in the front or something. His boots were patched up and falling apart. It was like, he gave me a £5 at Christmas where everyone else gave you like 20 quid. But to be fair to him, I didn't have to do anything because you couldn't clean them. Fall, rip them apart. It's the most bizarre pre-game behaviour I think I've ever seen. But anyway, he used to send me down the bookies at half time, so it's probably not the worst thing he ever used to do.
There you go. I presume it wasn't what a modern player would have, would be a Louis Vuitton kind of branded black bag, was it?
No, it was actually a bin bag. It was just a bin bag. And one of the as well, cheap bin bag. That's what it was. So it'd be a Louis Vuitton bin bag now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd have to be on brand and have an association to somebody. But there you go. Right, that's the second part. Right, we're on to the last part now, which is something around the wider football culture. It could be stuff you've seen at clubs, in the media, in the world of fandom, or anything like that. So, what are you sticking into dressing room 101 from the world of football culture? We'll call it.
Well, it's interesting because very nearly, just as you said, wash bags, I nearly went for wash bags. It just straight away pricked my conscience. I thought, you know what, that could go in, you know. But then it's led me. You've helped me there, Dave. You've inspired me because I'm now going to go for one thing I absolutely hate, and I've had to tell a few players, and I understand it. I really do understand it. But I see it so much. Players getting off the coach with headphones on, and there's. Were you ready for that? Were you ready for that? Players getting off. You ain't going far because it was plugged into something. So, but players getting off the coach with headphones on because, you know, you see it all the time, don't you? I mean, I can get off the coach after losing, say, 2 games on the spin, and there's fans there that have travelled, you know, and you have to go and give them your time. You know, you have to go and say hello to them and talk to them and sign whatever they want you to sign and take whatever pictures that you want to take. And you know, in 99.9% of occasions, everyone is so friendly. They're so respectful in every single situation, even after games to a certain degree. But you get players, and I understand players. You know, I'm in the zone. I'm thinking about the game. I might have some music on there that's something pre-game that the player likes, and they want to get into a rhythm. And I get that. But I think sometimes, you know, you just stop to think, and not all players do it. I'm not vilifying players for doing it. Let's get this straight. But I do see a lot of, particularly at Premier League level, I see a lot of Premier League players getting off with the headphones on, just walking straight in and not looking at the fans. You know, whether it's difficult at that level to do. I mean, I obviously played in the Premier League, but I wasn't probably in that era where, you know, it was the same scrutiny and the same sort of, you know, the same type of sort of celebrity, if you like, that goes with it. So yeah, I'm putting players getting off. I'm talking Premier League players getting off a coach with headphones on is a big bugbear of mine. I'm chucking that in 101 for the good of society, Dave.
For the good of society. And I think one of the things you have to be hyper vigilant about is the when players reach the holy trinity of getting off the coach, where they have, as you say, headphones on, and then you either need to be holding your phone or your wash bag, potentially both, or you've brought a whole case, a travel case that you're going to wheel in from the coach to the dressing room. Like, what is in those travel cases? Like, you're going in a tracksuit, all your kit's there, your boots are already there, and you're going to walk back out to the same coach. You're literally on a potentially 40-meter walk either which way, and you need a full travel case. Like, what potentially could be in those travel cases? I think we need to get a player who has one of them to come on and tell us exactly what lives in there, because I can't understand. I've not seen too many players with it, but I really want to know.
Gaming systems. That's what they'll say.
Yeah, but they're literally going for the bus to play the game. Like, the game's starting in an hour and a half. Like, so, like, what are they carrying in there? Is that their going out gear for straight after the game in case they're not coming back on the coach or something? Who knows?
I used to go out in my tracksuit. I used to go out in my team tracksuit, so I never needed gear straight out.
Yeah, it's hard to do as a member of staff because you've got initials on there, you know. So every kind of, or maybe that's why you do go out and in as a member of staff, because you have initials on there.
That's very true. Actually, two players once, I won't name them, but once upon a time, a long time ago, got caught going out the night before a game, the night before in the hotel. They sneaked out of the hotel in their tracksuit and they've gone for a drink. You're thinking, oh my, that is just, that would go in room 101 straight. Well, or would it? Or maybe would people think that's brilliant? Maybe that's brilliant. So yeah, I won't vilify that too much in case people like that.
I've got that I've got that on my list of future things that are potentially going to be debated in this series, but we'll leave that one for today. Mine is going to be part of the whole more recent advent of football tourism, that obviously people from around the world, they want to go and see a Premier League game or they want to go and see a big game. So, it's great to see fans filling out the stadium, of course. But the commercialization of this is the fact that there are now half and half scarves. Now, I know this one's been done to death, but if you're going to a football game, if you're just going there to pick a team, support that team. And I know it's hard to, obviously, you can't normally go in the away end. But if you're going in the home end, just get a scarf for the home team and support them. You can't go to a game and support both teams with having a half and half scarf, surely.
Dave is such a humbug, mate. What if I don't support either of those teams and neither team means anything to me? Can I not? So what you're saying, someone's going, so let's say I go to a game in the MLS and I've got no skin in the game, and there's a game between Inter Miami versus LA, and you're saying that you could turn up at the game and get half Miami, half LA scarf. Is that what you're saying you can get?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So the vendors on the outside, I've got a stall, and on the stall is the Inter Miami versus LA scarf, and you decide, okay, I'm going to go and market, but I'm not going there to support Miami. I'm not going to support LA. I just want to watch the football game and buy a half and half scarf. Just pick a side and, take your bet, pick your team, go and support them.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I wonder how many. I wonder if that's ever started a fight in a stand, because if someone celebrates or whatever, or and you just catch a glimpse of a bit of a scarf. What if half of it is tucked in and the other half's out, and you've got the Man United part of the Man United Liverpool. I can't imagine they ever do this half and half scarf, but Man United Liverpool, and you're a Liverpool fan, and there's 3,000 of you, and you just catch a glimpse of the Man United bit. Surely at that point, that's going to start a bit of trouble, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it's actually quite a danger. I'm saying from a health and safety perspective, it's very dangerous.
And because we're all about keeping everybody safe and healthy, that's why I think half and half scarves should go into a room 101. But maybe people out there can give us examples of half and half scarves that are so totally wrong. Like Inter Miami against LA, okay, opposite sides of the country in the US. But imagine going to something like a Birmingham Villa match and finding a half and half scarf, or Millwall West Ham, or Man City Man United. Would you get half and half? Has anyone ever seen any of those kind of examples of half and half scarves which are so totally wrong that literally it's probably punishable in the worst way possible?
Millwall West Ham, there might be a half and half person. I don't know, maybe a half after a game, half and half scarf, I'm not sure. We need to ask for advice on this, don't you? We need to ask John Darcy for advice on this at a ground. Would he rule it out on health and safety reasons within the stadium? So maybe if John's listening, he can tell us about the safety aspect of half. I'm sure there's other things on his mind, and he's probably got more pressing, important things. Is in charge of a safety at Fulham at the moment, isn't he? So John might be the expert that we can call on this and see if half and half scarves are dangerous.
Yeah, I wonder if you get stopped by the steward at the gate, sorry mate, you can't come in wearing that. A bit like you've got the wrong type of trainers, you've got the wrong type of scarf, mate. You can't come in. Sorry, you're gonna have to leave that at the gate. There's a bin there. Chuck it in the bin. Here's
some scissors. Cut it in half and pick your side, mate. Here's your chance. So that's a good one. Do you know what? I don't think I've ever actually seen a half and half scarf. I'm going to be looking for that now. I'm going to be looking for that.
Yeah, when you walk up to grounds and you see them, obviously the NFL is coming to London in a few weeks, and again, a lot of people who want to just go and watch an NFL game, and they're quite amazing, the NFL games in London, because you have people who support all sorts of teams from across the NFL, And of course, because there's only 2 or 3 games in London every year, fans of all sorts come down. So you end up getting these kind of mad mix of scarves being produced. But for me, just pick a side and go along and support your team.
Yeah.
So that's my choice for the wider football culture is half and half scarves, and yours was
I like
headphones.
it. Headphones, ignoring the fans. There you go.
There you go. Okay, so if we're going to post these out on socials so people get a chance to vote, or if you're watching this or listening to it, send us a comment of what you think your choices would be, and maybe on the next show we'll see whether anybody has got a wildly different opinion on why some of these things should not be sent in, and then we'll keep a tally, guys, as to whose ideas get passed through the most.
I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing what suggestions people have got, because I think they're going to unearth some brilliant ones. They're going to evoke some memories of the past, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe we could do it with players next time, as well. We could say players that we'd want committed to 101, or maybe we'll just keep that to ourselves. But
yeah, I was going to say, interesting.
That could be interesting, yeah. So anyway, keep an eye out for this one on the socials, and, keep passing through your comments. Lots of great ones coming through on recent episodes with some new questions. So we'll be doing a new whistleblowers soon, but keep listening in, keep subscribing, and keep commenting.
Thank you.